Well, day 6 of the conflict, and fears are growing that an Israeli ground offensive is close. This comes after widespread condemnation of Israel's ultimatum to leave northern Gaza. A short while ago, we spoke to our correspondent in Lebanon, Miel Berti, about the response from Hezbollah.
We're having a lot of diplomatic dynamics here on Friday with, U.S. and European officials visiting Israel, with the Iranian officials visiting Lebanon and meeting with the head of Hezbollah to discuss the next steps, which could be, the biggest fears is that could be an offensive from here towards the north of Israel. And in Gaza, we are seeing the United Nations Refugee Agency warning that it is not possible to evacuate around 1 million people from northern Gaza after Israel announced that it would start bombing that region, and especially, as you mentioned, when the only crossing from Gaza into another country than Israel is to Egypt, and it is now closed. And Egypt says that it will not open the crossing called the Rafah crossing until Israel can pledge not to bomb, because what we saw during this week was this attempt to carry aid, essential aid. We're talking about food, water and basic medicine to go into Gaza, where these basic staples are running out. We saw this attempt to bring this aid from Egypt through the Rafah crossing to Gaza, and then Israel bombing this crossing. So it is now closed for security reasons. So until Egypt hears this kind of confirmation from Israel that it can safely transport aid into Gaza, then that is not expected to happen. And with this imminent possible invasion of Israeli forces into Gaza, there are a lot of fears in the region that this could develop into something much larger, with many Arab countries having to act in defense of the Palestinians. And one of those countries could be Iran, as we saw today, the officials here in Beirut discussing this kind of possibility. So this move, it goes forward. If the Israeli troops do go forward and enter Gaza, that is the trigger that could cause this conflict to escalate to something much bigger than what we are already seeing. Hezbollah can definitely intervene. We know that they have the military capacity to do that, not to really stop Israel from its operations in the south, but we do know that it has enough power to really destabilize the situation in the north of Israel and make a dent in its military capacities, because then Israel would have to respond not only with troops but also with intel that is highly necessary right now with the offensive in the south. So we do know that Hezbollah has the capacity, and that's why the fear of its involvement is so serious. Although what we have heard from analysts is that so far, if Hezbollah wanted to be involved in this conflict, it would be already. And it would not be through the launch of missiles like we have been seeing in the last few days from southern Lebanon, which are not causing any real damage or any real casualties. What we heard from experts is that when Hezbollah does decide to attack, it will be clear for everyone what is happening. We will not be wondering if this is another deterrence attack or if this is really a real conflict engagement with Israel. But now the question is, what is the plan, if there is a plan for Hezbollah to enter the conflict or not? Because for Iran, Hezbollah's presence here in Lebanon, with this border with Israel, has a huge importance as this deterrent power for Israel. But not more than that. We have heard from Israel that it does not want to engage with a war with Lebanon. We have heard from Lebanese officials that the country is at an economic point that cannot afford being dragged into another war. So it is apparently not in the interest of any of the parts involved to be engaged in a war. But we know that the situation in the border is very, very volatile, and even an accident could cause this type of escalation to develop.